All right, so we'll start in our mountain pose, beginning to notice the body, feel into the body. Start at the head, line up the head over the heart. Relax through the shoulders. Let the elbows be soft and the hands be soft. Lifting the heart up a little bit towards the sun. Hugging in through the low ribs and the abs just a little bit so we can lengthen down through the tailbone. Feeling the tailbone drawing down towards the heels. Lining the heart up over the pelvis. And drawing the attention down to the knees, lifting up at the kneecaps, firming up through the quads. And then feeling the feet connect with the ground, with the mat. Noticing that little balancing act that's always there that we don't often notice with the feet. Notice if the weight is shifting slightly into one foot or the other, or one side or the other. How the body just knows intuitively how to continue to seek balance and homeostasis. We'll take another breath here, tuning into the breath, following your breath down into the belly. And then we'll lift the arms in front of us, almost like zombie pose here, and flip the palms up. And then take the arms out wide. And then lift the hands up. And then we're going to sweep them down into a forward fold and swish something out. So we'll just exhale, swish, throw something back behind you, something you don't need anymore. And we'll throw it down, and then we'll inhale back up, arms halfway first, flip the palms, reaching them out side to side next, lifting them up, and then we'll exhale and swish something out. We'll just exhale audibly through the mouth, and then inhale again, inhale part way forward, another third of the way out, inhale the last of the way, looking up, reaching up, and then exhale, whoosh, exhale through the mouth. And we'll stay here for this one. Coming into our forward fold. We'll hang here, bending at the knees generously for our first forward fold, and begin to sway a little side to side. Shaking the head out, a little yes, a little no. Letting everything from the day just kind of drip right out of the crown of the head. And then we'll come into our halfway lift. Inhale, draw the hands up the legs, pausing shins or the thighs. Coming into our L shape. Long through the neck, long through the low back, reaching those hips back. Hugging up through the abs. And then we'll exhale and forward fold all the way back down. And then we'll take the feet out a little bit to the side here, side to side. And then bend at the knees, coming into like a half squat. We'll bring the hands up to prayer at the heart. We'll pause here for a moment, and you can go ahead and come all the way down into a squat if it's comfortable. Lowering the hips, or you can stay slightly lifted. And we'll rock side to side onto the feet here, putting our weight into one foot and then the other, starting to warm up and the legs, dropping the shoulders down, away from the ear, letting them be heavy. Returning to the breath. And then we'll come back to center. Palms down in front of us, and then come to all fours. Knees sliding up under the hips. Hands coming to rest. Wrists under shoulders into our tabletop. Long back here again, long through the neck. Take a breath to really land here. Feeling into the palms, into all 10 knuckles. And we'll get into our little spinal flexions, getting into our cat-cows. We'll drop the belly first, draw the shoulder blades together, and we'll tuck the toes here for our cow pose as we look forward. And then exhale, let the toes come down and round through the spine into our cat. Pushing through the upper back. Inhale, drop the belly, look forward. Exhale, round through the spine. Dropping the head, pressing down into the tops of the toes. And one more time, we'll inhale, look forward. And then exhale, rounding through. Pressing down into the legs, into the arms. Lifting up the belly. And then we'll come back to our tabletop position. And walk the hands back to the knees and come up into a kneeling pose. Or a half mountain, if you will. And then we'll inhale and lift up through the hands. Reach up, just like if we were reaching into extended mountain pose. And then on our exhale, again, we'll swoosh the hands down, bring them down, and come all the way down onto the crown of the head this time. Come down onto the crown of the head. And then inhale, lift up and reach up. And exhale, we'll press the air away with the hands as we come down and let the crown of the head touch. And one more time, we'll inhale and lift up. Looking up to the sky. And then exhale, coming down, tapping the crown of the head down as we reach back through the hands. And then inhale, we'll come back to our tabletop position. We'll take a breath here. Notice how we feel. Maybe even wiggle and jiggle a little. Observing into the body and into the breath. And then we'll bring the elbows down to where the palms were and lift up through the hips into our puppy pose, dropping the head down, forehead down onto the mat. Getting to open up through the shoulders. We'll press down into the tops of the feet again and lift the hips. Lifting through the hips, we'll keep the knees down here, but feel that lifting sensation coming from the hips. Firming up through the abs and sinking the shoulders down a little bit more. Bringing awareness to both shoulders. Breathing into the shoulder blades. And then walk the hands back up. We'll come back to our tabletop position. We'll take a breath here. And on the next inhale, we'll reach up through the right, twisting open towards the right. And then threading the needle, we'll take the hand down under the left, and then we'll just pause here. Letting the right shoulder drop, coming onto the right ear. Maybe reaching that left hand out in front of you if that's more comfortable. We're stretching into the right side. Feeling into the right shoulder, into the space between the shoulder blades. We'll take a breath here. Keeping the hips lifting up. Then we'll glide the hand back as we lift back up, back to tabletop. Now maybe wiggle and jiggle here, rotate through the shoulders. Then on an inhale, we'll lift up through the left side and look up for a moment. And then exhale, we'll bring it down up under the right wrist, coming into our threading the needle on this side, coming down onto the left ear, gliding that right hand in front of you a little bit if that's more comfortable. Less pressure on the neck. Pressing down into the tops of the feet as we lift up through the hips. Breathe into the space between the shoulder blades. Noticing any sensations on this side. We'll take another breath here. And we'll slide the hand back to the head and press ourselves back up. Back to our tabletop position. And we'll take a breath. We'll rotate through the shoulders. And the elbow creases point towards the index finger. And then we'll curl through the toes, tucking those toes up under. And then lift the hips. And we'll slowly start to come all the way into our down dog. We're going to go this very slowly lifting up the hips. And then sending them back and up to the sky as we let the heels drop. Breathing deeply into our first down dog of the practice. Pedaling through the feet. Warming up through the fascia of the feet, into the calves, even into the hips as we rock a little side to side. Shake out the head. And then we'll reach the chest towards the knees, opening up through the shoulders. And then slowly we'll walk the feet and the hands together, coming back into our forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And catch a wave, and then exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach all the way up, lifting up, pressing the hips forward slightly, and then exhale, we'll dial all the way back down, back to our forward fold. Inhale, another halfway lift, using the hands to draw up the legs, stimulating those legs. And then exhale, let them come all the way back down. And we'll plant the palms and take one foot back. And the other, we'll come to a plank pose for a moment, reaching the heels back, tucking in through the pelvis. And then lifting the hips up high again, back to our downward facing dog. Take the hands out a little wider this time, and we'll take the feet out wide, coming into a wide down. And then we'll sink the chest down. Letting it reach up down towards the knees. And breathe here. Noticing if you're sinking into the elbows, and work to straighten them a little bit more. And then we'll walk the feet up to meet the hands again. And the hands to the feet. Even a little joint effort, hands and feet moving together. And then we'll take the feet out wide. And then down again. And this time we'll bring the hands in front of us and interlace the fingers, coming into like an elephant pose. We'll sink the hips down. Bring the hands like right in front of your face. Breathing energy into the palms. And then on an exhale, we'll straighten back up and fold the head down back into a forward fold. We'll take a breath. And then we'll walk over so that we're back, feet together, facing the short edge of the mat, into our forward fold. And then we'll reach the left foot back and come all the way down onto the left knee. Coming into our low lunge. Planting the top of the foot, right knee over right ankle. Now we'll inhale and lift hands. Dropping that left hip forward, sliding the right hip back. Reaching up with the hands, leveling the hips. And then we'll exhale and bring the palms back to frame the right foot. We'll come up onto the left toes and lift that knee. And then plant the left palm down and reach up through the right hand, looking up towards the right. Come into a little gentle twist here. And exhale, come back down to frame the right foot. Take the right toes back. And we'll pause here and plank for just a moment. Shoulders over wrists, hugging up through the abs. And then lift the hips back up, back to our downward facing dog. And then exhale, we'll come down onto the knees. And then bring the left foot up to the left hand. We'll come into our low lunge on the other side from a slightly different perspective. Left knee over left ankle. And as we're ready, we'll inhale and lift up and reach up into our lunge. Gliding the left hip back, letting the right hip sink forward. We'll take a few breaths here, reaching up with the hands, feeling the arms rise through the back, but letting the top of the shoulders drop down away from the ears. So really engaging through those back muscles. We'll take another breath. And then on an exhale, we'll float the hands down to frame the left foot, come up onto the right toes, keep the right hand down, and then we'll lift up through the left hand and look up. Our easy twist on this side, lifting that right kneecap. And then exhale, we'll float back down. Take the left toes back. Come to our plank and then hug in the elbows and then slowly lower all the way down to the belly. And then we'll bring the hands a little bit forward and come up onto the elbows into our Sphinx pose. We have elbows up under our shoulders. And we'll let the hips really sink down. Sinking the hips down a little bit farther. We press through the elbows, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. And then bring the crown of the head back a little bit so that our neck is long. So we, sometimes we may sink into the shoulders or sink into the head. Lifted here, out of the ears, in line with the spine. And then we'll look over the right shoulder. And then come back. Make sure we're still pressing down into the elbows, shoulders away from the left shoulder. And then coming back to center. And then we'll lift the hips and come back onto all fours and press ourselves all the way up to our tabletop position. And then we'll sink the hips back down into our child's pose. You can keep the knees together or you can take the knees out wide and the toes to touch. And we'll leave the arms out forward here and sink the head down. And take a breath. Take a couple of breaths here. Breathing into the low back, feeling the low back widening, lengthening. A counter pose from our Sphinx pose. Back bend. We allow it to round over now. And take another breath.